Joining me now is Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita. Attorney General, thank you so much for joining me today.
You bet. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course, you filed 2 lawsuits against TikTok and ByteDance earlier this month. Can you walk us through them?
Yeah, sure. So you're right. There's 2 lawsuits. They're both, however, based on Indiana's Deceptive Consumer Sales Practices Act. So we protect consumers. Most states have very similar laws from predatory or deceptive business practices. And that's what TikTok and their parent ByteDance, which is controlled effectively by the Chinese Communist Party, that's what they're doing. The first lawsuit talks about our most precious asset, our children, and how, if you can imagine, our children's heads being opened up and garbage being dumped in. That's what they're doing. While their own kids, they protect from their own product, TikTok. But our kids, they subject them to all kinds of horrendous material. And I'm not so Pollyanna, Brittany, that I don't understand that we're killing our culture ourselves in a lot of ways, and that's a whole separate interview, perhaps. But what we don't need is help from the Chinese Communist Party to destroy our society, to destroy our culture. It's hard being a parent enough these days. And what they're doing, let's say you have a 12-year-old. Within a couple minutes of getting your own TikTok account, your 12-year-old can be, think of a 12-year-old girl, can be taught how to be a stripper. Your 12-year-old girl or boy can be taught all kinds of lewd sex acts. They'll be introduced to alcohol. They'll be introduced to what drugs are working out real good, how the easiest ones that they can get. And then they'll be taught how to commit suicide. This is all being pushed on the most vulnerable in our society, our children. So there's that. Then there's the data piece. The data lawsuit is for any age, and it's the same Deceptive Consumer Sales Practices Act. They are going in and saying, if you scroll down and you read the terms of service, they'll say they don't take data. But the evidence that we have, and most of it's in the public sphere now already, is that they are in fact taking our data, our metadata, our consumer practices, our physical locations. So why is this deceiving? It's deceiving because in the case of the data, they said that they're not doing it. Well, they are. In the case of our kids, they say that if you go on Apple, the Apple store, they'll say this TikTok app is appropriate for 12 years old and up. It is absolutely not. In Indiana, it's $5,000 in fines per instance that they commit a deceptive act. So we're already in the hundreds of millions of dollars at least.
Attorney General, I do want to break this all down. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Forbes has done extensive investigations into TikTok. And Forbes found in the U.S. the app was downloaded about 58 million times this year alone. And user spending in the app has more than tripled to over $600 million in the past year. Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, obviously, it seems like it's popular, but I really think that people don't understand what's happening. And we intend to let people know. I know there's bills in Congress to stop not only federal employees, but maybe a complete ban on TikTok. The country of India seems to understand the problem. They have banned TikTok. Maybe we need a federal law to do the same. Some states have stopped their state employees from doing it. In my role as a law enforcer, rather use the market and the reasonable protections that consumers have in the free market to protect themselves against consumer sales and practices. So that's what we're doing. That's how we're attacking it. Obviously, we want the behavior to stop. It's not about the money. We want the behavior to stop. And I think ultimately the best solution, maybe this is a back way of answering your question, and I'm certainly not trying to dodge it, but the best way to stop TikTok from acting like it is to be patriots. We know that the CCP has said that they want to take over the world. We know that they want to do it without firing a single shot. This is one of the ways they're doing it. They're destroying our culture. They're destroying our kids. They're taking our data. If we just got rid of them, if we got rid of the app in a patriotic way, America first, then I think we'd solve this problem in the quickest way possible.
I do want to talk about those lawsuits that you mentioned, but first, how would you like to see TikTok marketed to younger audiences?
Well, in the four corners of the lawsuit, what we call for are several things. First of all, we want them permanently enjoined, so a permanent injunction from them marketing to anyone under the age of 18. We want them to fully disclose that, hey, yeah, we are taking your data and this is the data we're taking. That would be perfectly legal. It wouldn't be deceptive. But at least it would help get notice out of what TikTok is doing. But really, we want TikTok to go away in its current form. This business model where you can make hundreds of billions of dollars a year, which their parent company ByteDance makes, needs to be shown that it's not profitable. So we really want them to change their behavior, and the only way to make them do that is really to not only the pain of these lawsuits, the hundreds of thousands, the hundreds of millions of dollars in fines, the thousands of hours of attorneys that they're going to have to pay, but really just dump TikTok. And so part of our lawsuits, just by being on this show, help make that message, help articulate that message.
And Indiana was the first American state to sue TikTok. Do you see other states following your lead?
Yeah. So while Congress dithers or whatever they're going to do, maybe they're going to stop the federal employees, maybe they're going to go further and have a total ban. I think it's the states that are going to show the quickest legal action here. Every state has a consumer protection law that's similar to Indiana's. You can quibble about differences here and there, but this idea that number one, we are as consumers the biggest power on the face of the earth, and that the states recognize that and protect consumers and that power. That those statutes can be used in every state. I suspect and I would hope other states join this.
I want to talk about other states as well. So, you, along with 14 other state attorneys general, have signed letters to both Apple and Google urging them to bump up their ratings to either 17 plus or mature. Do you think that this is tangibly enough to make a difference?
Well, it makes it non-deceptive at least. So, I still think it's cultural rot. It's disgusting. But I can't do the job of churches and communities and nuclear families themselves. But we can help and we can offer some basic protection. So at least, and I was a signatory on a letter that called for them to do these things, of course. That would at least make the app non-deceptive, which is a huge step. But when you do that, you start cutting into their profits. And so that's why they don't want to do it. And we're just going to have that battle. This is going to be a long baseball game. My lawsuits represent, the top of the first inning, and it's going to go for a while. But we have the tenacity to see it through. We're talking with other states. We hope colleagues of mine in other states do join and have their own action, maybe a multi-state action at the end of the day. We think our cases are going to be a bellwether for the nation here.
Have Google and Apple responded to you?
Well, we just sent the letter last week, so I don't believe they've responded yet, and that's customary. I will tell you that TikTok and ByteDance have lawyered up. They're using a multinational firm called Faegre Drinker to help defend themselves. So we look forward to that battle. But make no mistake, it's the Chinese Communist Party at the end of the day that's behind this. They have no interest in us and in our success, I should say. They have a lot of interest in us, no interest in our success, all about trying to dominate the world. And unless the American consumer stands up and takes matter into their own hands by dumping this app, they may not learn quickly. We'll certainly see the baseball game to the ninth inning. But really, the fastest, best relief here is for Americans to be patriots and dump this Chinese app.
Attorney General, you said that you're in it for the 9 innings. You are in this fight for the long haul. You want to hold TikTok accountable. And you've reportedly said, quote, "We're ready to pursue further legal actions if necessary." What does this further action look like?
Well, we'll go where the investigation continues to take us. We're still in an investigative phase, even though the lawsuit's been filed. We'll still be gathering information through what we call discovery processes and all that. So I don't want to prejudge that, but the meaning of what I said was that we're going to not leave any stone unturned, and we're going to use every available legal mechanism at our disposal. And yes, there may be more as this unfolds.
I do want to harken back to something you briefly mentioned earlier, which is that the Senate approved a bill banning TikTok from all government devices in a unanimous vote last week. Do you think this goes far enough?
No, I think it's a nice first step, but I really think we have to have a federal law that gets rid of TikTok. I'm not saying that bans are the best legislative solution. I'd rather have the culture and the society take care of this themselves without law. But the very definition of a law, though, is a reminder that societies are allowed to put parameters on how individuals in that society behave, including business operators like TikTok and ByteDance. So it's valid. The country of India, I think I said earlier, the country of India has banned TikTok, the second most populous country in the world. So, we have that as an example. But yeah, it has to go beyond federal employees. I guess the federal employees might help a little bit with the national security agenda, but just having so much consumer data from an enemy country, and they are, is dangerous to national security. The whereabouts of Americans, their travel habits, their eating habits, their other consumer practices don't need to be in the hands of people that directly oppose our way of life.
Like I said, the legislation regarding federal employees was unanimous in the Senate. Why do you think it has such strong bipartisan support?
I don't know what it is. Now, President Trump was very good about saying and wanted to ban TikTok. I think he and my good friend Mike Pompeo wanted to get rid of it. Maybe I don't want to put names in where they don't belong, but I thought it was them. Certainly those in the Trump administration wanted to get rid of it altogether, and Democrats at the time couldn't think of a worse idea. And it's hard to believe that people could be so partisanly blind, because now these very same Democrats, maybe because they think Trump's not a factor as much anymore, maybe he's not president anymore, because they're trying some trumped up, goofy charges on him today, being the last meeting of the January 6th committee. I don't know, but they're coming around, and better late than never. But let's get to it, and let's start acting like a country again, united in our patriotism against our common foreign enemies.
I know you said earlier that you do agree with Senator Marco Rubio that TikTok should be banned, but you said you're not really a fan of legislative action that is banning. What legislative action would you like to see?
Well, no, I think I said, no, I didn't say that. I said the best situation here is that we do a ban. Other countries have done it. I think bans in general aren't the magic pill or the best remedy ever, forcing people. I think the better thing is not just to make something illegal, to make it unthinkable, right? Maybe that's a better way for me to say it. And the way you make it unthinkable is to change the culture. Much harder to do than slapping a law down. But I do think in this case, we have to do something. We have to do something across the board. And this is one place where a federal law, instead of a state by state law, might be better. Meanwhile, the states, the law enforcers can go after them like we've shown under their Deceptive Consumer Sales Practices Act, again, which is very similar from state to state, protecting another one of the best assets we have, that is the power of the American consumer. So I suggest that your viewers and your readers reach out to their attorneys general so that they can file similar suits, because that goes beyond state employees. That goes to making TikTok behave differently, better to all of us.
Attorney General, would you be opposed to any app in which a Chinese company owned a majority interest?
Yes, any Chinese company owning a majority interest, because by definition, that Chinese company has as its overlord the Chinese Communist Party.
Attorney General Rokita, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Good interview.